Well, here is where we are at today. Got off to somewhat of a late start to what I wanted to be doing today, but it is what it is. We're finally there. So we are getting ready to get this chopper cleaned up. You can hear a pressure washer running out there now. There's another pressure washer running up at the commodity shed. They're washing up silage trailers and whatever, and we're going to get on to washing and cleaning up this chopper, getting it ready for the 2025 season. We have to get the kernel processor out of it. We need to remove the kernel saver, the ear saver. There's a plate in here that we're going to pull out. There's another plate that's in underneath that bottom feed roll. We're going to take that out of there as well. And we're just going to get it ready for haylage. We've got to pull the kernel processor out, and we need to take that pipe extension out and put the short pipe back in. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that pipe extension right off. We'll wash it down on the ground, cover up our plugs, and then we'll wash the whole machine. And then, if you recall from back a while ago, what we have is a cracked and welded and repaired blower housing. We have welded on this housing several times throughout the silage season to get it through the season. Now, I've had a couple of comments. I've got a new one outside the door. Had a couple of comments about, oh boy, I would just keep welding that. Well, it's got some age on it. I don't want to just keep going with it. So we're going to get that swapped out. So what we'll do is we'll get it all washed up. Then we'll pull the blower pipe off. It might require some more washing. And then just kind of disassemble that area. Take it back out, wash it a little bit. Bring it back in, get the new one in there, so on and so forth. Now, we have also gotten some comments about, you know, you're behind the times, you shouldn't be running this machine, and you spent too much money on a milking parlor. And I mean, these guys ain't that bright, are they, Jay? Oh boy, I don't know, it just tickles me a little bit. But yeah, and claiming that we should have replaced this machine well before we did. Well, this machine has been a really good machine. It has 4,471 hours on the engine, and it's got 2,911 on the cutter head. It's probably got more hours than most guys would use or have on a machine at this caliber, but you know what? It is a good machine. It still is a good machine. Now we're going to be going into 2025 with a second machine. We're going to have a backup machine for this one here. Just because I know I'm going to get scrutinized for having this old machine around, and how dare you, you know. Everybody on the old YouTubes here wants to see new paint, and you guys think that it's a justified need to have it on camera. You don't need it. You just don't. So we're gonna get cracking away here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this thing cleaned up, because I love washing stuff, because you actually see something that you have accomplished after you get something cleaned up. And this as dirty as it is, will look like a new machine. I've got a decal. Actually, I got that John Deere decal right there that I should replace. I actually should pull all the decals off and put new ones on, right? Yeah, the other one's blistered up bad on the other side. The pressure washer got into it and bit it hard. And yeah, that's the John Deere one there, is a little choached out, wrapping up around that other side. So we probably should get that peeled off, get some new decals on it, and yeah, and get her cleaned up. So the machine, the second machine that we bought, we're gonna have to build a bumper for it because the previous owner didn't have one of them on there. And yeah, so that'll be a fun time. So we need to get the KP out, do this other stuff, and I'll join up with you guys here in a little whirl. But yeah, other than that, this doesn't need much work other than that. We did not use corn knives. We've got hay knives in this, or grass knives, and we don't have to change them out. I did replace the shear bar ahead of starting corn, and this shear bar here, I was going to just use it for corn. However, the one that I took out, this back side here, just down below the carbide edge, is wore back in. It is cupped back in quite a ways. So I think I'm just going to leave this one in there. A year ago, or last winter, ahead of this season, we had all 4 feed rolls changed. The upper one in the front, the lower one, the rear one, and the smooth roll. This one here was rounded right off. The rear top one was rounded right off. It was wore out. The cutter head was replaced last season between second and third cutting, and the reason why we replaced the cutter head, on this knife bed here, there was some welds that were showing some stress cracks, and you can go ahead and re-weld them, but it's not a real huge deal with running into a balancing issue. But I said, you know what, for what it costs and to not have to worry about taking out a cutter head bearing, just go ahead and replace it. So it's got a lot of new components in it. We replaced blower paddles and liners and all that stuff here this summer. We're gonna do it again. We're going to replace that blower housing. It's gonna have new liners in it, new blower paddles, the whole 9 yards. When it goes into next season, it's basically going to be like a 1.5 year old machine. This stuff can just be replaced. I mean, tractors that we have run around with 10, 12, 15,000 hours on them. There's no reason why this machine here can't run for a lot of hours. This has got a 19-liter Cummins engine in it with no emissions on it, so it's like running something from the late 90s, really. So we better get at it here. All right, so we have the front end kind of buttoned up here, and now we are working on getting this kernel processor out. I've got the wire harness unhooked from it, and I have the oil line unhooked. So we'll roll this up out of there, and then we can bring the winch in, hook the winch on it, grab it, pull it out, and then we could start working on getting the neck off of this. Okay, so we have this dug out of there. They suggest not to use a pressure washer on this, just the way that the bearings are designed. So we're just gonna hit this with some air, get the crap off of it, and we'll get to washing here in a little while, but we got a lot of dirt in here still that we need to get out. But we'll get the air on that, blow that section there out, and get to getting the spout extension off. So we'll work on that. We'll get this outside, bring the crane over, take that spout extension off, get it down on the ground. We'll get it all washed, and then we'll go into washing the whole machine. We'll wash the machine off, and then we will work on getting the rest of the spout off, and then get into the actual transition chute housing replacement. So let's go ahead and get some of this buttoned up, and yeah, get this ready to start throwing some water on. My favorite part. All right. Well, we are just about ready for some water. This floor was completely swept off before we started pulling panels off of this and getting all of the heavy debris cleaned out that was underneath the KP and whatever else like that. So there is a lot of garbage that is hidden on this machine. And you can see everything on the floor here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull this outside. I have all of the bolts out of that neck except one. We'll hook the choker on there from the crane, lift that off, set that down on the forklift, and then we'll get to washing. gonna throw some water on it, and it'll look a lot better once we get done washing. This is the best part right here, getting it washed. So, all right. Well, we've got a majority of the washing done on the chopper. We've got quite a bit more to do. And we've got this kernel processor ready to be put onto a pallet. We blew it off with air. I've got to flip it over yet. And then there's a little sticker on here. It says, do not pressure wash. So all we did is just went around it with air. And the reason why you don't want to pressure wash these is it has little felt pieces on the bearings that the oil absorbs into. It's kind of a wick to oil the bearing, and if you pressure wash it, the water will get into that felt seal, and then it'll never dry out. It'll rust the bearings out, and it will ruin them. So they advise, if you're going to wash this, to take it all apart and replace the seals. So we'll just clean it off with air, right? Yeah. All right, we'll have to get that other forklift. We'll hook on to here with it, flip it over. We'll set it upside down on that pallet, and then I got to blow off the other side.
Okay, you got...
I'll have to get a little hook clevis for that. So we just got to pick this up, flip it over on its back side, and set it on that pallet, and then we can get it put away.